The content provided on this platform is for entertainment and informational purposes only. The information shared does not constitute professional, legal, medical, or financial advice. Also, we will be using the word Black out of context. We are not Blacks, Negros, colored, or African Americans. The word Black is a noun and doesn't apply to a people. It is a form of social engineering to dehumanize a people, to justify land grabs in America. A hidden war has torn through the so-called Black community, leaving families fractured and spirits strained. This wasn't just poverty or racism. It was a psychological assault designed to break the foundation of so-called Black America, the family. The enemy used ideas, not weapons, turning our own people into unknowing agents of division. The breakdown of the so-called Black family was no accident. It was a calculated plan. By setting so-called Black men and women against each other, the architects of this war neutralized the greatest threat to the status quo: a unified Black community. A community at war with itself cannot fight an external enemy. Today, nearly 70% of so-called Black children are born to unmarried parents, a grim legacy of this unseen conflict. Generations now see each other as rivals, not partners. To heal, we must confront these uncomfortable truths and expose the forces behind this war. The battle for the soul of the so-called Black family is real, and it's time to unmask the combatants. In order for you to understand how so-called Black feminism was weaponized against Black families, we must take you back. Authorities considered so-called Black individuals or groups as national security threats when they organized to challenge racial inequality, economic exploitation, or state violence. Leaders and activists who fought for civil rights and Black empowerment were frequently viewed as dangerous revolutionaries. So-called Black movements seeking to dismantle systemic racism were often perceived by the dominant class as an attempt to overthrow the established political and social order. Government agencies such as the FBI historically tracked and disrupted Black advocacy groups. They used covert counterintelligence operations to break up organizations like the Black Panther Party. Law enforcement sometimes used broad, unfounded labels, such as Black identity extremist, to classify those protesting police brutality as domestic threats. During the Cold War, the U.S. government worried that so-called Black liberation groups might align with international anti-colonial or socialist movements. Sociologists use the racial threat theory to explain this. It suggests that when a minority group grows in size or asserts political influence, the dominant group feels threatened and increases social controls to maintain power. Historically, this led to so-called leaders being wrongly viewed as dangerous radicals rather than citizens exercising free speech. The villains in this story wore the mask of progress, not malice. Government agencies like the CIA infiltrated the civil rights and Black power movements, steering them from within. Their strategy: co-opt, not crush. They found the perfect vehicle in the rising tide of feminism, redirecting its energy from economic justice to a war between the sexes. Gloria Steinem, celebrated as a feminist icon, was funded by CIA-front organizations to promote a specific ideology. The CIA needed Black voices to deliver this divisive message, turning Black feminists into unwitting agents of family breakdown. What seemed like liberation was weaponized to divide. The stage was set for a tragedy, engineered from the shadows. The seeds of division were sown by those who claimed to be our allies. The CIA mastered psychological warfare, shaping culture and steering social movements to serve their interests. Through dummy foundations, they funded activists and cultural events, quietly guiding the narrative. Their goal channeled revolutionary energy into safe directions: identity politics over economic reform. The Independent Research Service, a CIA front, sponsored activists like Steinem to promote American ideals abroad. Instead of suppressing dissent, they nurtured a version that wouldn't threaten the system. By shifting feminism's focus from class to gender, they prevented a unified front for real change. The agency's invisible hand shaped a generation's thinking, not for progress, but for control. The Black community's drive for liberation became fertile ground for this manipulation. The seeds of division were planted, and the harvest would be devastating. Every covert operation needs a face. Gloria Steinem was that face for the CIA's cultural war. Culture wars are deep, often polarized political and social conflicts over core values, morality, and identity. Rather than debating taxes or budgets, these struggles center on how a society defines itself. They pit progressive movements pushing for social change against traditionalist groups defending established norms. Gloria Steinem's early activism was funded by the agency, sending her around the world to promote a curated vision of American freedom. Steinem defended her CIA ties, believing she was fighting authoritarianism, but she also served a domestic agenda. By championing individualistic feminism, she helped ensure the revolution would never threaten the foundations of power. Steinem became the symbol of a managed rebellion, progressive on the surface, but safe for the status quo. This history isn't a footnote. It's central to understanding how feminism and state intelligence became intertwined. Steinem, knowingly or not, was a key player in a strategy to divide and conquer. Her mission: plant the seeds of a new ideology, one that would fracture homes and communities. The groundwork for conflict within Black America was laid by polished operatives, not grassroots revolutionaries. They tell us an independent woman is someone who is self-sufficient, confident, and empowered to live life on her own terms. She takes responsibility for her own well-being, emotionally, intellectually, and financially, without relying on others for her identity, happiness, or basic survival. Black feminists promoted the independent woman by pretending to fight against racism and sexism at the same time. Because of this, they paved their own paths. They started independent groups. They also promoted the idea of why they did not need a man. The youth festivals of the 1950s and 60s were battlegrounds for hearts and minds. The Soviets used them to promote communism. The CIA countered with American culture, jazz, art, and the promise of freedom. Gloria Steinem and others were deployed to sell this image, engaging foreign students and nudging them toward American ideals. These operatives fought with charm and persuasion, not weapons. With CIA funding, they directed the conversation, making American freedom the loudest voice. This tactic was dangerously effective, planting ideas among youth eager for change. By framing their agenda as progressive and youth-led, the CIA gave it false authenticity. The very ideas that would later fracture the so-called Black family, radical individualism, gender over class, suspicion of tradition, were tested and refined on this global stage. The seeds of a managed revolution were sown, all under the watchful eye of the CIA. The CIA saw the powerful Black liberation movement as a threat, but a direct attack would only fuel resistance. So, they used a Trojan horse. The feminist movement, guided by operatives like Gloria Steinem, to divide the community from within. By reframing gender roles as the main struggle, they fractured Black families, ensuring permanent division, not liberation. The myth of the Superwoman twisted Black women's resilience into a trap, making them seem endlessly strong and self-reliant, but leaving their pain ignored. At the same time, Black men were labeled as macho and selfish, driving a wedge between the sexes. This narrative divided the Black community, shifting the focus from fighting oppression to blaming each other, making control easier for the system. Every psychological operation needs a Black face to sell its message. The CIA found theirs in Michele Wallace, a young, radical writer guided by Gloria Steinem. Ms. Magazine put Wallace on its cover, promoting her book, Black Macho and the Myth of the Superwoman. The book attacked Black men and the Black Power movement, sparking massive uproar. Steinem's support amplified Wallace's message, dividing the Black community under the guise of liberation. The phrase, "no romance without finance," means that a romantic relationship requires financial stability to survive and thrive. It highlights that love alone cannot pay the bills and that partners must be able to support themselves and contribute to shared financial responsibilities. The war on the so-called Black family wasn't just fought with ideas, but with policy. Cold, hard rules designed to break the home apart. The man in the house rule forced fathers to leave so families could survive, making a man's presence a liability. Also known as Aid to Families with Dependent Children, AFDC, had strict rules. If a caseworker found an able-bodied man living in a home, the family was disqualified from receiving aid. Because racist hiring practices kept many Black men unemployed, they faced a difficult choice. They could stay and watch their families starve, or leave so their children could get food. This forced fathers out of their homes. Welfare, as in farewell to the men, operates as psychological warfare by destabilizing the Black nuclear family. Over time, media narratives weaponized the resulting poverty, creating intense psychological shame to justify cutting off vital support. This wasn't just policy, it was state-sanctioned destruction of the family unit, unraveling the very fabric of the Black family. In 1965, the Moynihan Report blamed Black poverty on family breakdown, not systemic racism, ignoring the government's own role. This narrative shifted blame onto so-called Black families, fueling the welfare queen myth in the 1980s. The result? Shame, isolation, and policies that punished those most in need. It made the public view Black family dynamics as pathological or diseased. Media stories focused on a few women who abused the welfare system. These images were used to paint all Black mothers as lazy, greedy, and irresponsible. By the 90s, y'all, the psychological groundwork was complete. The public had been convinced that the welfare system was broken and that its recipients were lazy, fraudulent, and undeserving. The stage was set for the final blow. In 1996, the government passed a sweeping welfare reform bill, and that effectively ended the federal guarantee of assistance that had existed for 60 years. The old AFDC program was replaced with a new one called Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, or TANF. And, the name itself was a psychological signal. Assistance was now temporary. This was not a safety net anymore. It was a ticking clock. The new rules were explicitly punitive. TANF introduced strict, arbitrary time limits on how long a family could receive aid, often cutting them off after just a few years, regardless of their circumstances. It added rigid work requirements, forcing mothers of young children into low-wage, unstable jobs, or kicking them off the rolls if they couldn't find one. many so-called black mothers, facing a discriminatory job market and a lack of affordable childcare, found themselves completely cut off. The system was no longer designed to help families in need. It was designed to push them out, to punish them for their poverty. The psychological message of this reform was brutal and unambiguous. You are on your own. The government, which had once presented itself as a provider, now viewed poor mothers as an enemy to be disciplined. The reform sent a clear signal that their struggles were their own fault and that society had lost its patience with them. This created a climate of fear and desperation. The constant threat of being cut off from aid induced chronic stress, making it impossible for families to plan for the future. Survival became a day-to-day struggle, consuming all of a family's mental and emotional energy, leaving little room to organize or fight for systemic change. This was the culmination of the decades-long psychological war. First, the welfare system broke the family apart with the man-in-the-house rule. Then, it created a narrative of shame to blame the victims for the fallout. Finally, it used that shame as a justification to pull the rug out completely, leaving millions of families in a state of permanent crisis. The welfare system had successfully been transformed from a flawed support program into a finely tuned instrument of social control. It destabilized the black family, created intense psychological shame, and justified cutting off the very support that was needed to survive, completing the cycle of division and conquest. The architects of division needed an authentic voice, one that looked and sounded like the struggle, but came from privilege. They found Michele Wallace, young, articulate, radical in appearance, but raised in Harlem's Sugar Hill, educated in elite schools, trained by white feminists. She absorbed a worldview of gender conflict. Her book became the bomb, putting black men on trial, sowing division. Wallace's words were a Trojan horse, delivering division into the black family, all under the guise of liberation. Margaret Sloan-Hunter was a powerful black feminist and lesbian activist whose message encouraged black women to reject black men, fueling division within the community. Her activism promoted the idea that black men were unnecessary, undermining the black family. As an early editor at Ms. Magazine, she gained a national platform to spread this ideology. The message was clear: the future for black women was female, and the black man had no place in it. Charismatic individuals alone can't change a culture. In 1973, the National Black Feminist Organization was born in New York City, founded by Michele Wallace, Faith Ringgold, and Margaret Sloan-Hunter. It claimed to address racism and sexism, but instead deepened the divide between black men and women, institutionalizing conflict within the community. Though short-lived, the NBFO's legacy was lasting, spreading an ideological virus that fractured the black family for decades. The Section 8 voucher promised freedom, but for many black families it was an illusion. Landlords in better neighborhoods refused them, forcing families back into segregated, underfunded areas. The choice became a trap, reinforcing poverty, stigma, and a sense of powerlessness. The illusion of choice became another prison, with invisible walls just as real. Section 8 isn't just about where families live, it's about what they're denied: the chance to build generational wealth. While white families built equity through homeownership, black families were locked into renting, stripped of the ability to pass down assets. It's a cycle. Families run faster just to stay in place, never able to get ahead. The Section 8 cycle is a wealth-stripping machine, ensuring poverty is passed down, generation after generation. The devastation lingers like a dark fog over the Black community. Our families, once our fortress, became battlefields, divided by design, manipulated by systems meant to keep us apart. The hidden wires and shadowy figures behind the scenes orchestrated our division. But now the lights are coming up. This is a call to awakening, a chance to rebuild, to choose unity, and to become the blueprint for our resurrection.